All right, ready for another deep dive?
Always.
So I just finished watching the Bond episode
hmm
at Jay's Prehistoric Pets Reptile Sea.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and Joe Bond always finds these hidden gems, and it
Yeah,
was really fascinating, this one.
that's great.
I mean, she always finds these interesting people.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I was a little bit bummed that Jay himself wasn't there.
Uh,
But, George and Mitch's team, they really,
fantastic.
right, yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
But I mean, speaking of interesting people, you have to admit
Yeah.
that albino python they showed off was pretty.
He is incredible. It was like a bright
I
yellow.
was going to say it was like a giant banana,
Yes.
just like gleaming.
Gleaming. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
It's a good thing it's not in the wild, though.
No, that's
Yeah.
a really good point because that coloration is so striking,
Right.
but it comes from a lack of melanin. And so, in a natural environment, that wouldn't be so good for it.
Right. It would be spotted right away.
But, in captivity, it makes it, very unique and special.
And very expensive, probably.
Probably. Yeah.
Um,
So it's a good thing it has a safe home there.
yeah. But you know what else was interesting?
What's that?
Those baby alligators.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were cute. But, thinking about that alligator they
Especially
found
the garage.
in the garage. Yeah, that was
That was heartbreaking.
it was heartbreaking. Yeah.
It was really sad.
Like, I felt so bad for that poor creature.
It's a reminder to be responsible pet owners,
Absolutely. And you know what it made me think of?
What?
All those organizations like the IRCF.
Oh, yeah, the International Reptile Conservation Foundation.
Yeah,
They're doing so much good work.
they really are.
Yeah,
I mean, we often hear about, like save the whales or save the rainforest,
right.
but you never hear about save the reptiles.
Yeah, they need saving too.
They do.
Absolutely.
And they're so important to the ecosystem.
Very much so.
So
Yeah.
good on them.
And you know what? I wanted to ask you something because you mentioned before
Yeah.
you were surprised by the idea of bonding with reptiles.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had dogs and cats, and I love animals, but I
Yeah.
never really thought about bonding with a reptile.
It's not usually the first thing that comes to mind.
No.
But, they do have personalities
Right.
and they can form bonds.
Okay.
There's actually this growing area of research called animal-assisted interventions. It's referred to as AAI.
And that's with reptiles too.
Yeah, they're finding that there are therapeutic benefits
Wow.
to interacting with reptiles.
People like
A lot of people don't realize it, but
hanging out with a lizard could actually be good for you.
it could be.
That's amazing.
There was this study done in Japan where they had participants interact with reptiles,
Okay.
and then they had another group that didn't.
Right.
And the people who interacted with the reptiles reported feeling much more relaxed and less stressed. So it seems that, the quiet and calm nature of some reptiles can actually be soothing.
So you're telling me that, like,
Yeah.
my dog is my best friend, but I could actually get, like, emotional support from a lizard.
Well, I don't know if you'd get emotional support from a lizard,
Okay.
but it's interesting to think about.
Okay.
Maybe one day
Yeah.
reptiles will be comfort animals.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. They don't need to be walked.
Right?
They're relatively low maintenance.
Yeah.
They don't bark.
They don't shed much either, depending on the reptile.
That's true. That's true.
I'd still take my dog any day, though.
I know.
Yeah.
But, speaking of things that kind of surprised me,
What's that?
the tarantulas.
Oh.
I mean, before I always thought of them as,
Scary and creepy.
yeah, like creepy crawlies,
Yeah.
like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
But after seeing them in the episode, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're actually kind of beautiful.
They are.
And they're so important for the ecosystem,
Yeah. Very much so.
keeping all those insects in check.
Yeah. They're like little pest control experts.
Yeah, and they're part of the food chain.
Right? Exactly.
Something's got to eat them, right?
Yeah.
But, speaking of size,
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed by those pythons.
Oh, yeah. They were huge.
They were saying like 30 feet?
30 feet. Can you imagine?
That's longer than a car.
That's crazy.
I know.
I would not want to run into one of those in the wild.
No.
Absolutely not.
Over 500 pounds, too.
Oh.
That's heavier than a lot of people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it's scary to think about,
What?
like habitat loss and the illegal pet trade and all that.
Oh, yeah, those are serious threats
It is, yeah.
to a lot of species, not just pythons.
Right.
It makes you realize that we need to be more careful,
Yeah,
about our impact on the environment.
we got to protect these creatures.
We do.
Well, speaking of protecting things,
What's that?
I found these really cool socks the other day.
Oh, socks.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good pair of socks.
Tell me about it. So what kind of socks are these?
Well, they're dog-themed socks.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, so they're made of this like really soft, stretchy material,
Oh.
the polyester spandex blend, and they have all these cute dog faces, prints.
Ah, that sounds adorable.
I know.
What kind of dog face?
Like all sorts, like, different breeds.
That's awesome.
And they even have like funny little prints on the soles.
Oh, that's cute. Cool. Where'd you find these?
So they're from this website called xpfe.fun.
Okay.
It's xpfe.fun.
All right.
I'll put the link in the description.
Awesome. I'll have to check it out.
I got a couple pairs for myself and some friends.
Oh, nice.
They're so comfy.
That's great.
I know you're a big dog lover.
I am, yeah.
So-
Yeah, I definitely need to check those out.
You know what? I bet Joe Bond would like them too.
You know what? You're probably right.
Yeah, she seems like she has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, she definitely does.
Well, it's not about the socks. It's just that
Yeah.
it's like another way to celebrate.
Your love for animals?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've been talking about all this deep stuff,
Right.
but sometimes it's just the little things,
Absolutely.
like a cute pair of socks.
And that connection to nature.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to take a little break.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back with more of the bond and the world of reptiles.
Stay tuned.
We'll be talking more about those albino snakes.
Right, and the IRCF.
Yeah.
And who knows what else.
Always more to discover.
Exactly.
It's funny thinking about all these different animals we've seen on the Bond.
Yeah.
It made me think about that episode with Adam's falconry.
Oh, yeah. With Gia.
Yeah, she was so passionate about those birds.
She was great.
Those birds of prey are pretty amazing.
I know. And it's not even reptiles, but it's still...
It still fits the theme.
Yeah. It's all about bonding with nature in these unexpected ways.
Right.
I mean, who would have thought you could have that kind of relationship with a hawk?
I know. It's incredible.
Remember when she's talking about how they use the hood?
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just to, keep them calm during transport or whatever.
Right. It's part of the training.
Like a training tool to,
Yeah, and to desensitize them to it.
What's
so
that?
they build that trust.
Like a little meditation session for the hawk.
I know, right?
It's pretty cool.
And you know what else I thought was cool?
What?
The fact that when a bird of prey loses a feather,
Yeah.
they can actually repair it.
Really?
It's called imping. And they basically take a feather from a previous molt,
Oh, wow.
and then they attach it to the shaft of the broken feather.
So they're doing feather transplants.
Pretty much.
That's amazing.
That's really cool, yeah.
They're like little avian surgeons.
And, they were also talking about how
Yeah.
falconers are using GPS trackers these days
Oh, yeah, that's right.
to keep tabs on their birds during free flights.
It's like they're blending the ancient with the modern.
Yeah. Old techniques meet new technology.
It's pretty awesome.
And it made me think about, all this talk about connecting with animals in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought about those dog-themed socks you were talking about, and I thought, why stop at dog?
Why not hawk socks?
Exactly. We could have hawk socks, reptile socks,
Reptile socks, yeah.
all kinds of animal socks.
It would be a fun way to celebrate.
Yeah, the diversity.
Yeah, all the different creatures.
Yeah, I love
Maybe Joe Bond could partner with a sock company or something.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Make the Bond line of animal socks.
And then a portion of the proceeds could go to,
The IRCF.
to organizations like the IRCF.
That's a great idea.
I think so too.
Speaking of the IRCF,
Yeah.
I was really impressed by all the work they're doing.
Yeah, they're really dedicated.
Did you know they've been publishing their journal
Oh, yeah, reptiles and amphibians,
Yeah.
conservation and natural history.
for over 30 years?
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
They're really committed to this.
They are.
Going back to that alligator
Oh, yeah.
in the garage,
Yeah.
it just makes you realize that,
Some people shouldn't have pets.
yeah, and that it's a responsibility.
Absolutely.
not just a right
It is,
to
yeah.
have these animals.
We got to educate ourselves
We do.
and make sure we can take care of them.
Yeah, provide the right environment,
Oh,
give
yeah.
them what they need.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
It is.
This idea of bonding with nature,
Yeah.
whether it's falconry, taking care of a pet.
Or just appreciating the creatures around us.
Yeah, it's about that connection
Yeah.
and understanding our place in all of it.
It's a good reminder, We get so caught up in our day-to-day lives
Right.
that we forget about all the amazing things out there.
Right. We do. We really do.
We need more Joe Bonds in the world
We do.
to remind us.
To open our eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
To the beauty around us.
Yeah, it's not just about the exotic stuff.
Right.
It's about the everyday wonders, too.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. I want to remind our listeners about those dog-themed socks.
Oh, yeah.
If you're looking for a fun way to show your love for dogs
Girl.
and support a great company, you can find them at xpfe.fun.
Right.
That's xpfe.fun.
I'll put the link in the description, too.
Of course. As we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what has really resonated with you from this episode?
That's a good question.
I know we've covered a lot,
We have, yeah.
but what really stands out?
I think for me, it's that reminder that
Yeah.
bonding with nature
Yeah.
isn't just about, grand adventures.
Yeah.
It's about finding those little moments,
Right.
the everyday connections,
Absolutely.
whether it's watching a bird fly by or
Yeah.
listening to the wind in the trees.
Or just noticing a spider web.
Those small things can be just as meaningful.
They really can.
It's all about perspective.
And being present.
Exactly.
Well said.
It's pretty amazing how Joe Bond can find these connections between, like, falconry and reptile conservation.
Oh, yeah. It's really fascinating.
It's like it's all connected.
It is, Everything's part of this big web of life.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about reptiles being comfort animals.
Oh, yeah. That's a really interesting idea.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
At first, I was like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, a reptile.
But then thinking about it,
Yeah.
they're pretty low-key.
They are. They're very calm.
Yeah, and quiet.
Yeah. And they don't need a lot of attention.
Yeah, exactly.
So in that way,
Yeah,
I can see it.
it makes sense.
There's something very grounding about them.
Yeah, totally.
Really makes you think about,
Yeah,
what a therapy animal can be.
absolutely. We tend to get stuck in our ways of thinking.
We do.
We think, oh, it's got to be a dog or a cat.
Right.
But there's so much more out there,
There is.
And maybe
Yeah.
one day we'll see reptiles being prescribed for emotional support.
Like, imagine that.
I know.
Going to the doctor and they're like, you
Yeah.
need a bearded dragon.
Here's your prescription for a gecko.
That would be amazing.
It would be pretty cool.
It would.
Yeah.
But, speaking of the bond,
Yeah.
one of the things I really appreciate about the show is how it encourages us to
Yeah.
be more open-minded,
To explore.
Yeah, to explore those things that we might not normally.
Yeah, those unfamiliar corners of the world.
Yeah.
I think that's so important
It is. It is.
because there's always something new to learn,
Always.
and we can learn so much from nature. We can, and it doesn't have to be these big exotic adventures.
It doesn't, no.
It can be just like,
The everyday.
yeah, the everyday stuff.
Just simple things.
Yeah.
And that reminds me, actually, a little brother
Mm.
has been using those Firebrand books from...
Oh, from XPFE.
yeah.
For his history class.
Oh, cool.
And he was saying how, learning about people from hundreds of years ago
Yeah.
made him realize that we're all connected across time.
That's pretty deep for a little brother.
I know. He's a smart kid.
But, he's right.
Yeah.
It's like,
We are all connected.
yeah, we're all connected.
Yeah,
It's kind of a humbling thought.
it is.
But it's also, it's hopeful.
Yeah.
It's like we're all in this together. It
Yeah.
gives you a sense of responsibility, too,
Absolutely.
to make sure that we're taking care of things.
Of each other and the planet.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
So to all our listeners out there,
Yeah.
remember to,
Yeah.
embrace those connections with nature.
Absolutely.
Big and small.
Big and small, it's all important.
It is.
Yeah.
And, find those moments of joy and wonder.
Yes. Find that wonder.
Until next time.
As Joe Bond says, until we bond again.